Hello and welcome to Rapid Tabletop. My name is Leonard, but you can call me Leo. Yeah, got it right on the first take this time round. Today I'll be showing the first out of 2 videos on how to build trains. This first one was a challenge for myself, and my challenge was only to use terrain kits when building this train here. The other train I'll be building is based on the first one I made here, and I built this one approximately 1 year ago. There's been some requests that I should be making a tutorial on that train actually. But before I will make that one, I want to make one based on terrain kits. But in this video we'll be doing the terrain. And I do hope there's someone who's going to like this version as well and have some use of it. So let's dive into it. Starting off with a column. I chose to have 2 pipes on one side of the column. This is for future designs as we move on. Basically, these pipes will break up the column appearance a bit forward towards the end. A quick note here in between. As I did mention previously in the intro, my previous build was built on a Taurox, which we have here. And at this stage here with the column, you can actually use the Taurox part instead of the column if you want to. But for now, let's stick with this one with a column. Next is a part from the Alchemist stack kit. I love the details on this one. There's some smaller pipes and a large vent on one side. This will be attached on the top of the column. Next we have the top part from the long wall section from the walls and columns kit. This one will act as a support for the undercarriage and will guide the wheels into the correct position. It is a bit angled here on the side, so it needs some trimming to be at a 90-degree angle. I use my trusty mold line remover for this one. Just like a cooking show, I have pre-made one ahead, so voila, here it is. The plasma regulator needs some major trimming as well. I need the bottom part to be flat and in line with the Alchemist stack pipe. If you can, cut nicely so you can use the cut off parts for something else in the future. Just drawing some lines to show you guys where I made my cuts. And what do you know, like magic, it's already cut. Now this little support bit needs to go as well, as it will be in the way for my future parts that I will be adding on to the train here. Just use a cutter and clean up with the mold line remover. Clean up all the edges where you have made your cuts. Underneath, make sure align the parts shown here. They will be used as support later on. And here we have the short wall section top. This one you will need to saw into half. Or you can just be a brute and impatient builder like me and cut it. Whoa, where did that come from? I must have prepared this ahead. Go figure that. Now for the wheels, I'll be using the pipe extensions, caps, or whatever they're called. Round bits with different designs. They are for my rails that I have made a little bit too wide, so I need to trim down the first ring as shown here a little bit. Simple enough with a cutter, then follow up with a trusty mold line remover. And do this 8 times. I won't bore you with all 8, so I actually do think you got it what's going on here. This part here is for my intended design of the sides of the train, but you can use whatever you feel is right. I make sure that the backside is flat by cutting off any irregularities. Well, look at that. The mold line remover comes back on screen. Now the next design bit will need some adjustments to fit. I made my cuts here as shown. If you're doing it like a simpleton like me with a cutter, make sure that you have the flat end of the cutter towards your intended section that you will use. Oh, look here, who do we have here to visit us? It's Mr. Mold Line Remover. The part I cut off I intend to use as well. cutting it off like a brute. And there we have the intended future purpose, attaching these together. These fluid containers, yeah, that's what I call them. I don't know if I would call it a water container, because whatever is in there I wouldn't drink it. But anyhow, they are needed to cover up some gaps later on. So this part is actually optional, as many things are with this build. But if you want a straight up copy, this is what I used. Now, I have no real good way to explain this here, but I have made several minor adjustments when I made my pre-built train. With this pre-made bit here, I can show you a little bit how I made my cuts. Bear in mind, adjustments will be needed for your own train. There are a couple of notches on the side. The top one is the one I use as a guideline into the center. There's a slight curvature on the underside of this bit. Whoa, look at the angle on my thumb there. It's over 90 degrees. And here we're making a groove for the future railing or beam that I will install. Now this part works better with plastic glue when it's almost cured, not fully cured like with my example here. Using the mold line remover to get those nasty gaps away. The excess plastic fills the gap, and with the almost cured plastic glue it becomes a seamless bond. Speaking of which, let's crack open a new bottle of plastic glue for a plastic crack. From now on you will actually see me struggling a little bit with getting the pieces together with the plastic glue, and this is because I pre-built the train ahead with super glue to see what kind of design I wanted for this train. Yeah, so I didn't remove the super glue properly after I disassembled the train here. So that's a lesson learned for next time, I guess. But now, back to the guide. Looking at the design of the cylinder, I'm trying to decide which side goes where. I decided I wanted the canister to be on the lower level. Use a lot of glue, the bond needs to be strong. And as I said before, the pipes on the columns will be on the back of the train. Look at all that super glue leftover residue. God, I really don't like super glue. Make sure it's centered by using various visual references on the column. And this here is why I prefer plastic glue. I can make adjustments, but with the super glue you have pretty much only one chance. Adding the plasma regulator. Oops, I rolled a 1, it all fell apart. Yep, the whole thing fell off. Well, there you have it. I officially hate super glue. So the long wall support goes on, and we'll be using the plasma regulator's underside as a connection point as well as a column. Well, let's cut the video right there and pretend that this never happened. I have now cleaned off the plastic glue and scraped off the super glue more thoroughly this time. So the short wall top is the first one to be glued on, as it will be centered under the plasma regulator. The long wall top will then adjust to be in line with this one. As you can see, there's a large gap between the Alchemate stack pipe and the support under carriage. This I will cover up in the front section with this fluid canister. Please note this is where you need to make your adjustments to make it fit your train. Time for some wheels. Now the rims and design is really up to you. The top part of the inner circle here will be in line with the top support we just installed. Well, well, well. Did that wheel just fall off? Because I didn't clean the support from all the super glue, eh? God damn it, another one. Now, as with all kit bashing projects, you cannot plan ahead all the way through. And I did mention in my previous video that when I cut something out from a sprue, I cut out every single bit. I did not, however, in this video. It's because I want to show you which sprue I was using and where to find the parts. And I did notice now at this stage here that the wheels were a little bit loose on the support that I had, so I had to find a new supporting beam to stabilize the wheels. So let's take a look at that. This is where I decided to use the frag drill tracks to give the wheels some extra support. You can really use anything, but I do know I will not use those tracks anyway. Now, I don't know why I measure these, trying to look smart, I guess. But for those interested, the distance between the inside of the larger circles here, when measured properly, is 45 millimeters. This in turn will work nicely with the containers on wheels. The distance between the inner wheels there is 40 millimeters. I have 5 millimeters extra because of the Locomotive's design of the inside wheels, so it needs a few extra millimeters. I didn't realize the other side had a different design until now, so some larger adjustments had to be made here. Again, all the parts you intend to use on the train, make sure you get all the uneven and unwanted surfaces. Well, hello there, old friend. Time to remove some plastic together. Now we need some wheels on the cabin as well. It just so happens that the column walls inside is almost perfect for the alignment here for the wheels. You just need to cut off some inside details. Now this can be done ahead of time, if I only knew this ahead of time, that is. But now you do, you lucky git. Make the adjustments so it's in line with the other wheels, and will you look at that, the plastic glue make this possible. And hey, I'm actually using this ruler for something actually useful. And there you have the basic shape of the Locomotive. From this point on, it's mostly design and aesthetics. So it all depends on what you have at home and available for you, or what you actually want for your specific design on your train. But I will stick with terrain kits for this train here. In the next one, of course, I'll be combining it with the Taurox, representing the old one that I had here before, so people can see how I built this version. Ever since the Sector Mechanicus terrain kits came, the bits from the terrain kits have been super rich on details and able to be used in many various ways. Here I need a support beam for the side of my wall design. I want this support beam to be industrial looking. So again, the frag drill kit comes to the rescue. I'm not really worried about wasting the parts on this kit, as I'll be using most of it in the next train version and I already know which parts to use. Well, how convenient, I have made a pre-made one again. This beam should be, in my case, cut at the same length as the part I will support. Always cross-check. Ah, it feels good using that mode line remover. And yes, sometimes I need to use a knife. Pre-checking the positions of the parts, I see a large unwanted gap. This I will fill with a wheel, pipe thingy. And hey, pre-made again. Cutting this one into a third of its size. If you want to do the exact same one I did, there are 7 holes on the rim of the wheel here after I had cut out my piece. The inside needs to be cut out as well, as it will be in the way of other parts I'm using here for my sidewall. Make note of the angle here. This is needed to fit against the column wall that has a strange shape exactly where I want this piece. Align the last sidewall design with the back of the column here. Some adjustments needed again. Now with kit bashing, you will be making small adjustments all the time. You are, after all, combining parts that were not intended to be used together. So just be patient and take your time and make small adjustments. And now we're back to adjustments again. In this case, it's actually a rather large one. Adding the front pieces, I need to do this at the same time to get the length right. So that's why I cut the video here and jumped to the part where I have done the other side, so it's just the front pieces left. This took some time to adjust, so make sure you take your time with this. And I also ended up doing a lot of small cuts, as shown here. This is so it would fit into the sideways ladder. Pipe circle thingies? Yeah, they're added. And I chose to have skulls as a design on those parts, because Empyrean has some kind of fetish for skulls, I guess. Starting with the cabin now. I want to cover up most of it with detail so you can't really see the column. Using one of the parts for the lifts coming from the platforms and stairs kit. Adding the roof, and it really looks flat. Thus I decided to use the frag drill kit again. Now it has a good fit along the length of the roof, but the sides need more work. But first let's add some more skulls, a large one this time. Again using these fluid containers. These will be used to cover up the holes on the roof. I just cut off the pipe from one end and added it to the other, to make them mirrored to each other. Still a small gap, but I did find some skulls. Now this is why you never throw away any parts that you cut off from a terrain bit. It might look a little bit useless the first time, but you never know when it will come in handy. And this particular bit has been in my bits box since the Kill Team released with the Sector Imperialis terrain. But now it had found its purpose. Stairs. Well, why not? Let's add some stairs. Here I'm just showing off my awesome skills how to cut a railing. The door, or whatever this thing I'm trying to indicate that it is from the server hall kit. And again, here I used the Sector Imperialis to add some extra details for the back. And here we're adding some lights. Found that the beam still left some unwanted gaps. To cover this up, I went to the frag drill kit again and got a bit to cover that up. And there you have it, folks, one terrain train. Well, now we're done with building the terrain. So let's get started with the painting, shall we? That's it for this time. I do hope you enjoyed this video and tutorial, and as I said, there will be coming another tutorial about the other train. Now, as usual, if you do like the content, leave a like and subscribe. And of course, becoming a patron would help me a lot so I can produce more video content for you guys. That's it for this time. I hope you enjoyed it and can use some of this information I have given here to you. So, I'll see you in the next video.